So back in October, we went to the ocean as a family, and we had a really good vacation. The first few days we were there, the ocean was really calm. It was so calm, the kids got to do a little bit of scuba diving, and they got to use their little snorkels and look and see what was at the bottom. They spotted some jellyfish, and they just had a good old time. Well, one night the storm rolled in, and it wasn't a bad storm. I mean, it thundered, it lightened, but it was enough that they changed the flag on the beach to red because the waves were rough. Well, the last day that we were going to get to go swimming, we decided we were going to go swimming in the ocean because the whole reason we were there was to go to the ocean. So we went on down to the beach, and these waves were pretty good size. They weren't like ginormous. I mean, I wouldn't have took my kids down there if they were going to be dangerous, but they were pretty good size. Me and my daughter would stand there, and these waves would come crashing into us, and we would just plant our feet into the sand and just let the waves crash into us. And every now and then, my oldest son, he would holler, "Mama, look away," and I would turn away because one of the waves would be taller than me, and it would just smack me in the back of the head. But after a while, your legs get tired of holding you up against the weight of those waves because they are so heavy, because it's gallons of water coming down on you. And even though the water's pretty, it's rough. And I got to looking, and so my littlest one, he's 4. He wouldn't go near the water. He didn't want any part of it. He was playing in the sand. And then my little girl, who's 6, she would come just to the edge of the water. She wouldn't get in it too awful much. She wouldn't go past her knees. She didn't want it bopping her around. But then I looked at my 7-year-old, and he had his life jacket on, and he learned real fast. He could not stand there and let the waves crash into him because they would knock him down. So what he would do is when a wave would come to him, he would jump. And when he would jump, he would go above the wave and come back down. And I was like, you know what? That looks a whole lot easier. So when the waves would come to me, the big waves that I would have to plant my feet down and hold myself, real strong so I didn't get knocked over. Instead of doing that, I looked at my daughter and I was like, let's jump. Let's just see what it does. So that's what we did. We didn't have life jackets on. Me and her didn't because, we were a little bit taller. So we just jumped, and man, it was so much easier. It was so much easier. And I've thought about that moment a lot since then, because there's been a lot of storms I've had to witness since then. There's been storms I've walked through. There's been storms I've watched some of my friends, my family walk through. And there's one thing I've noticed. We can't stop the waves from coming. We want the seas and the ocean. We want life to be calm. We like it when the water's calm. We like it when we can see what's at the bottom. We like it when we know what's happening. We liked it the first few days we were there when you could see the bottom. When we could walk out there and we knew exactly what to expect. We liked that. Nobody likes it when you don't know what you're going to step on. Nobody likes it when you don't know what's coming. Nobody likes the unknown. And nobody exactly knows when every storm's going to head your way. And there's no stopping the storm. There was nothing we could have done to stop the storm from hitting where we were at. I mean, we couldn't have put up a wall big enough. We couldn't have built a wind machine and blew it away. There was nothing we could do. The storm was coming. We just kind of had to, stay inside until it passed. And even after the storm passed, though, there were still things that the storm left behind. The waves. The high waves didn't leave just because the storm had passed away. The thunder, the lightning had went away, the rain had went away, and all of that. But the fact is, we were still getting beat up by the waves. And nobody wants to be beat up by the waves. And God started dealing with me, and he was like, you know how you were standing there and your legs were getting tired and you were getting wore out because you were letting the waves just beat the tarnations out of you. He's like, but when you jumped, you weren't as tired because you went above the wave. You went above the wave. You couldn't stop the wave. I couldn't stop the wave. I couldn't stop it from coming at me. I couldn't stop it from hitting me, but I could stop the impact of it from being as harsh. And the verse came to my mind, leap for joy. When the Bible tells us to leap for joy, it doesn't say we leap because of joy. It says leap for joy. And I thought, how many times in my life have I missed out on an opportunity to leap for joy when a storm is upon me? When I'm facing something that I don't quite understand, when I'm facing something that's hard. And my instinct is to bury my feet in the sand and just stand strong and weather the storm. And God's saying, no, if you would just leap for joy, if you would just leap, you're not going to get battered as bad because the wave isn't going to hit you the same. You're going to rise above it and you're not going to feel beaten and battered down. Instead, I'm going to raise you up above it, and you're not going to stop the storm. You're not going to stop the wave. You're not going to stop the battering, but you'll stop the way you feel. It won't hurt as bad, and you'll get through it a little bit easier, a little bit better. This week's not been the best of weeks. My dad's birthday was yesterday. He passed away in March. But honestly, Sunday was harder than his birthday because Sunday was usually when we would have celebrated it. He usually would have worked on his birthday. So Sunday would have been when he would have come over and we would have had manwich and chocolate cake with chocolate frosting and chocolate ice cream because he was like a big kid, I'm telling you. And in that moment of walking through this, I have a choice. Well, what am I going to do to get through this storm? What am I going to show my kids to walk through this grief? Are we just going to bury our feet in the sand and be beat up by the grief of it? Are we just going to allow the storm to beat us and just be bottled down by it? Is that what we're going to do? Are we going to get worn out through this? No, we're going to leap for joy. We're going to allow God to carry us through the grief. Are we still going to have to go through the grief? Yes, the waves of grief are still going to overcome us, and there are going to be times when it's going to be overwhelming, but as long as I'm leaping for joy, as long as I'm letting God lift me up above it, I'm not going to get tired as quickly, and I'm not going to feel as beaten up. So we did things a little bit different yesterday. We went and we got some drinks from Sonic with ice because he loved ice. If you don't know, he just loved ice. And we didn't focus on the fact that he wasn't here. As a matter of fact, my son wanted to drive by his tombstone and tell him that Alabama football stinks. Alabama was his favorite team. I mean, that would have been something he would have told him if he was alive, because he would have aggravated him. And that's, to me, that was a whole lot better than focusing on the fact that he wasn't here to celebrate. Focusing on the fact that he didn't make it to 67. You know? Focusing on allowing God to show us the joy in what we had. even in the struggles that I've been going through with my health, and even in the struggles I've been watching some of my dear friends go through lately. I watched one of my dearest friends. I've watched them and go through one of the hardest struggles I've seen them go through, and one of the sweetest things I've seen is her husband snuck away in the bathroom to play some worship music. That's leaping for joy in the middle of a struggle. When you can leave a hospital room while your wife's asleep and she's resting finally after she's been in pain, and you're tucked away in the bathroom and you're just having you some worship time. That's leaping for joy in the middle of the storm. That's letting God carry you through and not being beaten, battered, not just burying your feet in the sand and just weathering the storm, because that's what we want to do. We think, if I'm just going to stand here and I'm just going to take it until it's over, but God's like, I don't want you to be beat up. I want you to come out stronger, not weaker. And a lot of times we come through the battle and we're like, I barely made it. And God's like, no, I want you to come through victorious. And that verse keeps coming through my mind. Leap for joy, leap for joy, leap for joy. Well, why in the world would you leap for joy when you're in the middle of a turmoil? Well, when you leap for joy, you're rising above whatever it is that's attacking you, and it's hitting you in a different position. It's hitting you in a different place. You're not trying to do it in your own strength. You're letting His Spirit lift you up. And I don't know, maybe this is just for me, and if it is, then just ignore it. But this is just a reminder for me then, that no matter what you're facing, leap for joy. Don't be stubborn and hard-headed and think that you just have to weather the storm. Don't bury your feet in and just think that you have to stand firm and do it all alone. Leap for joy and let the Spirit of Jesus Christ lift you up and carry you through. Yeah, the storm's still going to come. The waves are still going to come. The beating is still going to be there, but it's not going to be as bad. And He's going to lift you up, and He's going to give you the strength, and you're going to come out stronger. So today, if you do nothing else, leap for joy.